Confucianism. Confucianism is like learning how to be the best person you can be, especially in your family and community. It was started by a wise man named Confucius who lived in China long ago. He taught that everyone should respect their parents, be honest, and care for others. Confucius believed that if everyone behaves well, the whole society will be peaceful and happy. So, in Confucianism, being good to others and doing the right thing is very important. Daoism, Taoism. Daoism is all about going with the flow of nature and not fighting against it. It's like when you float down a river on a raft, letting the current take you wherever it goes. Taoists believe there's a natural order to everything, called the Tao, and we should try to live in harmony with it. They think too many rules can make life harder, so it's better to keep things simple and not fuss too much. Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love. Legalism. Legalism is a philosophy that says rules and laws are really important to keep society running smoothly. Think of it like a game where everyone has to follow the rules to play fair. In ancient China, some people thought that the only way to have a peaceful country was to have very strict laws and strong leaders who made sure everyone followed them. It's like having a strict teacher who doesn't allow any talking or goofing around in class. Mohism. Mohism is kind of like being on a team where everyone looks out for each other. It was started by a man named Mozi in China. He thought that everyone should care about everyone else, not just their own family or friends. Mozi also said that people should not fight wars unless they really have to. He believed in being practical and making things that are useful, rather than just pretty. Chinese Buddhism. Chinese Buddhism mixes the teachings of Buddha, who was from India, with ideas from China. Buddha taught that life has a lot of suffering, but we can overcome it by understanding the world better and living in a kind way. When Buddhism came to China, it blended with Chinese beliefs like respecting ancestors and loving nature. It teaches people how to be calm and peaceful inside, no matter what is happening outside. Neo-Confucianism. Neo-Confucianism is like a remix of older ideas from Confucianism, mixed with some ideas from Buddhism and Taoism. It started in China about 1,000 years after Confucius. Neo-Confucianists think about big questions like what makes us human and how we should live our lives. They believe that by understanding the world and ourselves, we can become better people and create a better society. Vedanta. Vedanta is a philosophy from India that explores the big ideas found in texts called the Upanishads. These texts ask deep questions, like, who am I, and what is real? Vedanta teaches that the deepest part of each person, called the soul, is connected to a universal soul, which is like a huge ocean of spirit and love. It says that by understanding this connection, people can find true happiness and peace, not just from things around them but from within themselves. Yoga philosophy. Yoga philosophy is more than just doing stretches and poses. It's a way of living that helps you to be calm, focused, and kind. The idea is to connect your mind, body, and spirit through different exercises and meditation. Yoga teaches that by taking care of ourselves in this way, we can be happier and more peaceful, and understand ourselves and the world better. Samkhya. Samkhya is one of the oldest Indian philosophies, and it looks at the universe as made up of two things, matter and spirit. Think of it like a game with two main players. Matter is everything we can see and touch, and spirit is what gives life and energy to matter. Samkhya teaches that by understanding how these two interact, we can free ourselves from pain and suffering and reach a state of deep peace. Nyaya. Nyaya is like being a detective. It's an Indian philosophy that focuses on how we know what we know. It teaches methods to figure out what's true and what's not, using logic and reasoning. So, if you're solving a puzzle or proving a point in an argument, you're thinking like a Nyaya philosopher. It helps people make clear decisions and understand the world in a logical way. Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika is a bit like being a scientist. This Indian philosophy tries to explain how the universe is made up by breaking it down into tiny parts, like atoms. It looks at things like how and why objects exist and what they're made of. Vaisheshika teaches that by understanding the building blocks of nature, we can understand the universe better. Mimamsa. Mimamsa is another Indian philosophy that focuses a lot on the Vedas, which are very old and sacred texts. It's all about figuring out how to perform rituals correctly and why they're important. Mimamsa philosophers believe that by following these rituals exactly, we can maintain order and harmony in the world. It's like following a recipe to make sure a cake turns out just right. Buddhism. Buddhism teaches that life has a lot of challenges, but we can overcome them. It was started by a prince named Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha, or the Awakened One. He found that the key to happiness isn't having lots of things but understanding life and living kindly and wisely. Buddhists try to follow a path that leads to peace and enlightenment, which is a special kind of deep understanding and happiness. Jainism. Jainism teaches extreme kindness and care for all living things. Jains believe that everything in the world, from animals to plants, has a soul. They try very hard not to harm any living thing, which is why they are vegetarians and often sweep the ground before they walk to avoid stepping on insects. They believe that by living this way, they can achieve a pure soul and find a special kind of peace. Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism is a special kind of Buddhism that started in China and became very popular in Japan. It focuses a lot on meditation, which is like sitting quietly and clearing your mind to understand life better. Zen Buddhists think that the best way to understand things is not just through reading or learning from others, but by experiencing them directly. They use simple activities, like drinking tea or sweeping floors, as a way to practice being mindful and present in the moment. Shinto. Shinto is the traditional religion of Japan. It's not just about believing in gods and spirits, but also about celebrating the beauty of nature, like mountains, rivers, and trees. Shinto teaches that these places and things have spirits, and people should respect and care for them. It's a way of living that encourages purity, gratitude, and harmony with nature. Kyoto School. The Kyoto School is a group of thinkers in Japan who tried to blend Western philosophy, like the ideas you'd hear about in Europe and America, with Eastern thoughts from places like Japan and China. They think about big questions, such as what life means and how we should live it. They try to find answers that work for modern times, using both the old wisdom of the East and the new ideas from the West. Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism is a mix of Buddhism and some older traditions from Tibet. It has a lot of unique practices, like meditation, chanting, and using special colorful art called mandalas. Tibetan Buddhists believe in different levels of consciousness and that we can learn to understand our minds better through these practices. This helps them find peace and wisdom. Theravada Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism is known as the Way of the Elders. It's one of the oldest forms of Buddhism and is practiced mainly in countries like Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. This type of Buddhism focuses on following the original teachings of Buddha very closely. Theravada Buddhists work on improving themselves through understanding, morality, and meditation, aiming to achieve a deep peace and freedom from suffering. Korean Neo-Confucianism. Korean Neo-Confucianism is a way of thinking that developed in Korea, based on the older Confucian ideas from China. It focuses on being a good, moral person and living in harmony with others. Korean Neo-Confucianists also think a lot about nature and how everything is connected. They believe that by understanding these connections and living ethically, people can lead better, more fulfilling lives.